Hi guys, welcome back to Sacred Vedic Astrology. My name is Samantha and I feel so blessed and so lucky to be a professional Vedic sidereal astrologer. So today we're going to do a little mini lesson chart analysis. Okay, so this is a new sort of series idea that has come to me where I feel like when I do my really in-depth chart analysis videos, I love to film those, but there's so much information to take in, especially if someone is more new to Vedic astrology. So I thought I would start a series and let me know what you guys think about this, where I do mini lessons into signatures of the Vedic astrological chart as opposed to the whole entire chart analysis. So I came up with this idea today and I'm like, let's give it a whirl, let's try it out. I'm not sure if you guys know much about human design, but I'm a manifesting generator, so I always need to do new things, try new things. I hate feeling like boxed in, even with work or content creation. So I was like, let's shake it up, let's try something new, and we're actually going to look into the chart of the notorious baseball player Barry Bonds. And the reason I want to look into his chart is because he has this really interesting astrological signature, which is the Venus-Mars conjunction. And then we also get Rahu in there, so I'll also talk about the Rahu-Mars conjunction as well too. And I thought this would be really cool to look at an astrological signature in the chart and really just like focus on one aspect of the chart, something more small, something more minute, but something that is actually so accurate to someone's life story. So what we're going to really focus on today is the Venus-Mars-Rahu in the 8th house of Barry Bonds' Vedic astrological chart. I talk about this a lot, but I have the Venus-Mars conjunction. My second Vedic teacher had the Venus-Mars conjunction. I have a lot of friends with the Venus-Mars conjunction. I have heard people with the Venus-Mars conjunction say verbatim, I've heard it come out of their mouth that they say, I'm just passionate, this is a passionate lifetime. Guys, Venus with Mars is passion, okay? If you see this Vedic astrological signature in someone's chart, Venus with Mars, especially if it's really tight, degree orb, right? Venus is right there with Mars. See Venus at like 0 degrees, Mars at 2 degrees, right there. Okay, and then we throw in Rahu. Rahu's at 8 degrees, so now Rahu is close to Mars as well too. And oh my goodness, this is so much passion, this is so much drive, this is so much charisma, this is so much sexual desire. We'll get into that. There's also a lot of like anger and aggression, which Barry Bonds was actually accused of domestic violence. He had a lot going on in his love life, all right? And so we're going to look at the good and the bad of all this energy activated. Rahu with Mars, Venus with Mars, all the passion, all the energy, all the motivation, all the sexuality, all the charisma. We're going to get into it. All right, so let us start with the astrological signature of Venus when it comes together with Mars in itself. So Venus is the karaka for beauty, love, romance, money, creativity, and then when it comes together with Mars in conjunction, meaning that they sit in the same sign, in the same house, then we're bringing like the Mars influence to Venus, right? Mars is passion, aggression, drive. It's a lot of energy when Venus comes together with Mars. Someone is passionate throughout their whole lifetime, okay? It doesn't matter what it is, right? Like if someone has Venus with Mars, they're passionate how they speak, they're passionate how they express themselves. There's passion really like woven into the whole life experience and life story, right? Again, I heard someone verbatim who has Venus-Mars conjunction say, I'm just passionate, I just speak passionately, right? Venus with Mars, it's passion. It's a lot of energy, right? Because Mars is energizing Venus. So it's an astrological signature. If I see that in someone's chart, I always tell them, it's a passionate lifetime. You have to go towards things that make you feel passionate and like excited. And they always know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so Venus with Mars, passionate lifetime, creative. They need to feel excited. They need to feel energized in their life. And Venus with Mars can also give a lot of sexual energy, right? Because Venus is the karaka for love. Mars is driving that. It's just a very passionate, sexual, charismatic conjunction in itself, okay? And especially if Venus comes together with Mars in the second house or aspecting the second house. So see how this is in his 8th house. aspecting the second, their voice and their speech is going to be passionate. So like when they speak, it's going to be excitable, it's going to be passionate, like that. Okay. So the first little part of the astrological signature in his chart is that Venus with Mars, and he was an extremely passionate baseball player, right? To get that level of success in his field, he was so driven, so motivated, so passionate about what he did. So much energy was coming out of him. Venus-Mars is like energy. Energy comes out of them, especially because we get that Rahu there as well too. Okay, and we'll talk about how this is in the 8th house in a second. But Venus with Mars, astrological signature that gives a passionate lifetime. They are passionate, all right? It's not going to be like this person who's really boring. If you see Venus Mars, they're talking with their hands, they're excitable, passionate, okay? And I happen to always be friends with people who also have a Venus-Mars conjunction, and it's so funny. Like, I feel like if you would watch us, like, together, we'd be like this, like, speaking so passionately. It's like that with Venus-Mars, and I love it so much, especially if it's in the second or aspecting the second. Okay, so there's that. Venus with Mars can give love affairs, sometimes too much energy. They get too passionate, so they, like, want a lot of different relationships. It's like that as well too with Venus-Mars if it's not developed yet. So a lot of sexuality, passion, charisma, like that. Okay, and then we throw in Rahu into the mix. Now we have Rahu with Mars with Venus. So remember, when Rahu comes together with planets, it expands it. So if Rahu comes with a lot of malefics, it expands the malefic influence, right? So if someone has like Saturn with not Ketu, if someone has Saturn with the sun and then Rahu is there, Rahu is adding on to those malefics, and it's a lot of malefic energy for that place to hold, right? If Rahu comes together with benefic, so let's say Rahu is with Venus and Mercury, it's more of a expansive energy of the benefic influence. So like Rahu, Venus, someone is going to be very into beauty, creativity, women, pleasure, right? It's going to expand that benefic influence. If Rahu comes together with Saturn, it expands the Saturnian influence, right? So someone feels very Saturn, they can feel restricted, they can feel heavy, like that, okay? So Rahu is this like expansive influence. Wherever it goes, it's expanding, it's making it bigger. And Rahu is also materialistic desires as well too. So Rahu with Mars is a classic signature for anyone who is going to be involved in sports, right? Because Mars is the planet that would connect to sports and energy and drive and physical fitness, exerting physical energy. So when Rahu goes there, it expands it. So Rahu with Mars gives an ability for someone to do things for hours, and they keep going and they're energized and they can't stop and they have so much energy. Rahu Mars is a classic conjunction where someone is either into physical fitness, they need to do sports, they need to get their energy out there. And the other thing is too, it's a very sexual conjunction. So when Rahu comes together with Mars, someone can be sexual for like hours. Like it's so much sexual energy. And this is also in Barry Bond's 8th house. So Lord, we'll get into that. Rahu is heightening Mars. So Rahu is heightening the ability for him to be in sports, be in physical fitness. He's going to have a lot of energy. He's going to have so much drive, so much ambition with that Rahu Mars. And then Venus is also in the mix as well too. So he's also going to have a love for like passionate love affairs like that. It said he had a mistress for, I think it was 9 years. I'm telling you guys, with this with these three planets, Rahu with Mars and Venus, I would be shocked. I would be shocked if there weren't love affairs, right? Because Rahu's heightening that Venus-Mars passion, charisma, sexuality, it's heightening all of that, okay? But Rahu with Mars is going to give that ability for someone to be in sports. They're going to use their physical energy, and if they don't, they're going to go a little crazy. Like they need to get out there, use their energy in some sort of like physical activity. I remember I had a client once who had a Rahu Mars conjunction, and I told him, I was like, you need to use your energy and channel it into something so you don't go stir crazy. And he was like, yeah. He's like, I literally never can sit still. He was like, I'm always working out, and then I'm going to work, and then I'm doing this, then I'm doing this, then I'm doing this. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like tired, like listening to him explain all these things he does. I'm like, geez. But that's Rahu Mars, right? They love to like utilize their energy constantly. They are always doing something. They're like hiking, and then they're taking a workout class, and then it's just like that with Rahu Mars, because Rahu's expanding all that Mars energy. So really good if someone wants to go into sports. I remember I did a chart of a guy that I was dating at the time, and he had Rahu with Mars, and I didn't even know this about him, but I was reading his chart and I was like, were you ever into sports? And he was like, that's so funny, because like his original path was going to be sports, and he didn't go that path. But you will see so many charts with the Rahu Mars conjunction where they either have an interest in sports or they almost go that path in this lifetime. The thing about it is it's pretty rare for someone to have a successful career in sports, right? That's a very rare sort of thing. But I would say about 80 to 85% of maybe 90% of charts where I see Rahu Mars, they almost went into sports, or they were sports adjacent, meaning they were always around it. They loved sports, like that. Okay, but again, it's like really hard to actually have like a successful career in sports. That's a very, very rare thing, right? But the Rahu Mars conjunction gives the ability to go towards it. Because remember, Rahu is what we're going towards in this lifetime. So if someone is already going towards Mars, they're going towards physical energy, they're going towards drive, they're going towards ambition. Yeah, they're going to like sports and physical fitness, of course. But Rahu Mars is also so much energy, so much passion. They have to learn to tame their aggression and their anger as well, too. So Rahu Mars people can have anger issues because Rahu is heightening the aggression of the chart as well, too. So Barry Bonds was accused of domestic violence. He had a court case with his mistress. Of course, he had a court case with a mistress with Rahu Mars, Venus in the 8th house of sexuality. Come on, like, of course. I would be shocked if he didn't. So the Mars is also aggression as well, too. And he also was aggressive in his energy. Of course, you're not going to be successful in sports unless you have some level of let's go after it, let's get after it. You have to be that way. That Rahu Mars was helping him in the sports, in the ability to be motivated, driven, successful. But it was harming him in the way of personal relationships because he was overly aggressive, he was overly sexual, like that. And of course, like, we'll never know the full story of what was going on behind the scenes. I feel like whenever there's these huge celebrity, like, court cases, and there's mistresses, and then there's money, and then there's sex scandals, it's like, who knows what was really going on? But with that Rahu, Venus, Mars, Lord knows that he definitely was having affairs and a lot of sexual energy like that. Okay, and interestingly enough, the 8th house is the house of sexuality, the 12th house as well too. So 12th house is like bed pleasures, but I see 8th house in Western astrology is the sexual house, and I think it's both. Like, I really, really do. I've seen both work. So it's also in the house of, you know, taboo, secret, hidden, like that. So Rahu, Mars, Venus, all these really like sexual, you know, romantic energies are now in the house of affairs, sexuality, hidden, taboo, and also other people's money. So he might have some main theme of like getting money from like wills, pensions, legacies, and it might have issues sometimes because of that Rahu Mars as well too. Okay. So my goodness, you know, that Venus Mars is so much passion, so much drive, so much energy. It's a passionate lifetime. He was a passionate baseball player. Rahu Mars going towards physical fitness, going towards sports, going towards ambition, going towards energy, going towards drive. That's his whole life story, right? And this is a really, really potent 3 planetary aspect, right? And what's also really interesting as well too is he's a Scorpio Lagna or ascendant in Vedic astrology. So that means his whole chart is actually ruled by these planetary energies, right? Scorpio ruled by Mars, first rulers in the 8th house. You know, the 8th house is the house of scandals, taboo, but also energy. 8th house gives someone a lot of energy, like a lot of life force comes out of them. And Barry Bonds had so much energy. He had so much life force, right? If you're going to be that successful as a baseball player, guess what? You're going to have a lot of energy, drive, like that. So that's that first ruler. And then we also take the energy of like first rulers in the 8th house. It's Mars, and that's next to Rahu. So now we're getting like Rahu energy with the first ruler, and then we're also getting Venus energy with the first ruler as well too. So not only is there so much that we can take from that Venus-Mars-Rahu conjunction in the 8th house, this is also ruling his entire chart, right? The whole chart ruler, and so this is his whole life story, right? And that's it right there. Really fascinating, spot on. And I'm telling you guys, if you see Rahu with Mars, someone has to have outlets to put their energy into things, or else they're gonna go towards the lower manifestation, right? So for him, it was a lot of physical violence. He was accused of using steroids, different drugs. The 8th house is like taboo, like that. I think he also had some like sexual dysfunction issues, which is so fascinating because the 8th house is the house of sexuality, and then Rahu, Mars, Venus, all these planetary energies are there. Okay. So he was accused of sexual dysfunction. The fact that it came up in his court case. Physical changes due to steroids. Yeah, like there's so much going on in his 8th house of like sexual energy that when we get Rahu and Mars there's the need to be cautious and careful, because that's not going to be great. It's going to be like too much. And then also, okay, his ex-mistress said that he had violent outbursts. Okay. And then he was charged with 4 counts of lying to a grand jury in 2003. Yeah, so that is Rahu, Mars, Venus, and the 8th house of sexuality, scandals, taboo. 8th house can also be an energy where someone has like some sort of fall from grace at some point, because it is such a taboo house as well. So it's like scandals with the 8th house as well. Okay. So I thought that was so fascinating to look into Barry Bond's astrological chart. Of course, this packed 8th house is going to be good for charisma, energy, drive. Remember, 8th house is a lot of energy comes out of someone. They're going to be sexually charismatic. They're going to be like that. But then it's also so much, so expansive that it's not going to go well for the people in the life. He's going to be too passionate, too much sexuality, too much energy, too much anger, like that. Okay. So I thought this was a really fascinating, quick look into the Venus-Mars signature and also the Rahu-Mars signature. Of course, Rahu is also with Venus. I spoke about that before as well too. Rahu heightens everything, so now he's attracted to Venus, he's attracted to women, beauty, luxury, like that. It's expanding, all of it. Okay. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I thought this would be a fun little lesson, because when I was reading his life story and then I pulled up his chart and I saw Venus with Mars with Rahu in the 8th house, I was like, you can't make this stuff up. That's his whole life story right there. Really interesting. If you guys do have the Venus-Mars conjunction or the Rahu-Mars or the Rahu-Venus, let me know. Do you feel like you're always drawn towards like passion? It's a very passionate sort of lifetime, and there's a need to be cautious of being overly passionate. Too much sexual energy, too much looking for passion all around, right? So it's like that. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment, like, and subscribe for more content coming soon. And let me know what you guys thought about this format of a quick lesson into an astrological signature of the charts. All right, we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.